Good morning, everyone. First day of school today. I can already hear somebody moving up there. Still dark outside, this and that. But I was here when school was going during COVID time. Let's see, and then it's kind of started up again. Yeah, so I was here during that time, and seen it there too. I have no doubt this is going to run up there this morning, getting everybody ready. Things are already laid out the night before, and everybody has to get ready to go to work and to school and to preschool and I don't know what. Right? And it's going to be everything will go up there harmoniously with no loud voices or crying or yelling or nothing like that. That's how it works here in this family. Yes. The parents work together and they each have their job on exactly what all of them are doing. Both of them are doing. And the children, done. That's how it works. Can work. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, wonderful. So, uh, I will hardly hear anything down here on what's going on up there, though if it were loud, I would. But it's not. All you hear is footsteps. Just about. And quiet talking. Yes. Sending off the children like that to school or anywhere for that matter. Isn't that's a nice way for the children too. Yes. Mmm. Yes. One dreams of a peaceful and harmonious life, right? What everybody were to do that, if everybody's household would be running like an oiled machine, right? Yes, never break down, this and that. Oh, is that even possible? Sure. I find it interesting that how many people just live by the word, right? Just the word. They hear the word, right? But then when it comes to action, it's nowhere to be found. And so it isn't kind of when you learn about the Bible, when you learn about certain other great things on the side of goodness, just that, isn't that what you apply in your own life? And then your own experiences. How do we attach our life to the Word of God? So, then, like I said, I always say the Ten Commandments, the Lord's Prayer. The thing is that eventually, I found that in my life, just like with the pendulum. First I used it, and okay, then suddenly I realized I don't need it anymore. I don't need that anymore. It's now ingrained within me. I found something within me that can tell me that's a good piece of fruit. That's a good piece of vegetable. Right? Yes. That's good food just by looking at it. Or, oh, no, not eating that. Don't want that. Right. Yes. Mm. It's the same with the Ten Commandments and the Lord's Prayer. Eventually, and even with just prayer, suddenly your whole day just becomes a prayer in a way. Yes. And that gets you through anything. Yeah. Oh, perfect? No, 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 no. Still, right? There's still things that come up, right? Because not everybody else out there is like that, is there? And you still have to deal with that. Things come at you where don't you understand the, the kind of right path in certain situations? Don't people know? Like people, parents, even if you're just a single mom or single dad, right? Chaos in the morning that's what one likes. Gotta get the kids up. They don't want to get up. So why are they not rested well enough? Does that have something to do with you? Because the children are going to bed way too late? Well, it's so difficult. Is it? Just saying. Right? If there are things in one's life that are chaotic, then figure out, go to someone who doesn't have that. Well, how are you doing it? What do I need to do? Yes? We can read the Bible all day long, but if we do not know how to apply the words of God that actually are meant for our lives, not everything is meant in the same way for people. Some things we have together, some things we don't. And we're all a little different when it comes to that area as well, right? But we apply. We don't just read and then regurgitate to someone else. Let me see how you're going to do it. Right? We've got to be the example of that, I think. Anyway, so there it is. Right? Yes, again. I find it interesting when I have conversations with people and they start throwing Bible verses at me or certain other things that someone else said and going, what do you have to say about it? How are you getting, what are you getting out of this? How do you understand it? So that I can understand what I don't understand on how you understand it. If I'm just, yeah, I read all that too. But how come I'm understanding it completely different than someone else? Well, in order to know that, I've got to know how the person got to certain conclusions. And why is that? Yes? Yeah. It's not just about getting to know God. It's getting to know the people around us. Yeah? Yes? So, there's another thing. Put yourself, if someone talks to you, especially children, put your cell phone aside. Put anything aside that connects you to whatever virtual reality here, right? Because whoever talks right next to you in reality as a living person is way more important than anything that goes on in this virtual reality. Yes? Yeah. There. Again, I'm teaching my generation and, okay, my children's generation to listen again. Yes? Yeah? All right. Yeah. Wonderful to listen to children. And we made out of a big cardboard box, we made a puppet show, a puppet theater. And then we made puppets, and then we made prop stuff, and this and that. And so we just finished that actually all the way a few days ago, and every day we've had puppet shows. Yeah? Yes, the children having to making stories, making up stories and talking, and the rest of us were sitting on the chairs listening. Right? Oh, it was hilarious. That's all I have to say to that. But there too, or how I shared yesterday how I was talking right to this one girl, and on how interested they are to just have conversations, that kind of give and take. Yes, especially with adults who listen. Well, anyway, so let's get started here in 1 Samuel 14. Jonathan attacks the outpost. So it's Jonathan. What happened to Saul? One day, Jonathan, so one day, someday, don't really know. Okay. Jonathan, son of Saul, said to his armor bearer, come on, let us go across to the Philistine outpost over on the other side. But he did not inform his father. Saul was on the outskirts of Geba, sitting under the pomegranate tree that stands near the threshing floor. Amazing, they know exactly where he's at. Under there, we got the name of the tree, this, that. This is interesting. The force with him numbered about 600 men. Yes, we already know that. Ahijah, son of Ahitub, brother of Ichabod, son of Phinehas, son of Eli. Oh, wait a second. Son of Ahitub, brother of Ichabod, son of Phinehas, son of Eli. The priest of Yahweh at Shiloh was carrying the ephod. The force did not know that Jonathan had left. So Eli's sons, are also there with. So not only does he have Samuel's sons, who are no good, also one of the ancestors or descendants of Eli's sons is there, way removed. How the heck does that? Okay. Well, anyway. Well, all right. One generation later. But it doesn't say does he follow God? Is he doing better than the father? Oh, interesting. In the pass that Jonathan was trying to cross to reach the Philistine outpost, there is a rocky spur on one side and a rocky spur on the other. One is called Bozez, the other Seneh. The first spur stands to the north facing Mishmash, the other to the south facing Gebah. All these uh, directions of what these places, what's the matter? Jonathan said to his armor bearer, "Come on, let us go across these uncircumcised people's outpost." Perhaps Yahweh will do something for us, for Yahweh is free to grant deliverance through a few men just as much as through many. His armor bearer replied, "Do exactly as you think. I am with you. Our hearts are as one." Okay. Jonathan then said, "Look, we will go across to these people and let ourselves be seen. If they say, 'Do not move until we come to you,' we shall stay where we are and not go up to them. But if they say, 'Come up to us,' we shall go up, for that will be the sign for us that Yahweh has given them into our power." I find this odd on how this has come up a few times now. Okay. When the two of them let themselves be seen by the Philistine outpost, the Philistines said, "Look, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have been hiding." The men of the outpost then hailed Jonathan and his armor bearer. "Come up to us," they said. "We have something to tell you." Jonathan then said to his armor bearer, "Follow me up. Yahweh has given them into the power of Israel." Jonathan clambered up on hands and feet with his armor bearer behind him. The Philistines fell at Jonathan's onslaught, and his armor bearer, coming behind, finished them off. This first killing made by Jonathan and his armor bearer accounted for about 20 men. The first killing made by Jonathan? Not true. Didn't he kill that governor? So, what's this account here? Not true. All right. I don't know. Sounds like a weird story. Battle is engaged. There was panic in the camp, in the field, and throughout the army. Outpost and raiding company two were panic-stricken. The earth quaked. It was a panic from Yahweh. Saul's lookout men in Gebah of Benjamin could see the camp scattering in all directions. Saul then said to the force that was with him, "Call the roll and see who has left us." So they called the roll, and Jonathan and his armor bearer were missing. So it's two people who went and confronted the Philistines. Okay. Saul then said to Ahijah, "Bring the ephod," since he was the man who carried the ephod in Israel. But while Saul was speaking to the priest, the turmoil in the Philistine camp grew worse and worse. And Saul said to the priest, "Withdraw your hand." Saul and the whole force with him then formed up and advanced to where the fighting was going on. And there they all were, drawing their swords on one another in wild confusion. Huh? Those Hebrews who had earlier taken service with the Philistines and had accompanied them into camp now defected to the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. What? Those Hebrews who had earlier taken service with the Philistines now defected to the Israelites. What the heck is that all about? Oh. Similarly, all those Israelites who had been hiding in the highlands of Ephraim hearing that the Philistines were on the run, chased after them and joined in the fight. That day Yahweh gave Israel the victory. So how close together was all this? This all happened what, in one night? One day? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. Sounds like a fairy tale to me, but okay. It just doesn't make any sense. What am I supposed to learn from this? Anything? Oh, God doesn't do war. He doesn't. I already know that the Israelites are doing whatever they want. They're disunited. They're happy. I don't know if they ever are happy or always disgruntled, or I can't tell what. They have the word of God. They do. They have the guidance of God, and they're just doing whatever they want. And what it seems like, what they really enjoy more than anything is chaos. I wonder how this is written down in the Philistines, right? Yes. If there's any history, just the Philistines writing down the story. It'd be interesting. Okay, right. Now. I know. Jonathan violates Saul's prohibition. Well, there you go. See? The fighting reached the other side of Beth Horon. As the men of Israel were hard pressed that day, Saul pronounced this imprecation over the people: a curse on anyone who eats food before evening, before I have taken revenge on my enemies. So none of the people so much as tasted food. Okay, so wait a minute. So they just won over their enemies, but he wants to take revenge on the enemies. You know what my feeling is? It's that Jonathan and that bearer, whatever, they didn't make it. I don't know. We'll see. Why would he have to take revenge on his enemies? Didn't he already do that? Or are we going back again in this part now? Going back again somewhere before what we just read? I don't know. Doesn't say. Not yet. Let's see. And he's prohibiting the people to eat after a whole days of fighting, and I'm sure they're hungry and thirsty. I'm not getting this. Now there was a honeycomb out in the open. The people came to the honeycomb. The honey was dripping out, but no one put a hand to his mouth. The people being in awe of the oath. Oh, here is Jonathan. Jonathan, however, not having heard his father bind the people with the oath, reached with the end of the stick which he was carrying, thrust it into the honeycomb, and put it to his mouth. Whereupon his eyes grew brighter. One of the people then spoke up. Your father, he said, has bound the people with this oath. Oh, nobody stopped him before that? So they're right there, though, watching him. Jonathan doesn't know anything about it, though. People don't say, hey, wait, before you do that. Your dad said, no, they let him eat first. And your dad said, by the way. Wouldn't you stop someone if that was so important? All right. I don't know. Your father, he said, has bound the people with this oath, a curse on anyone who eats anything today. My father has brought trouble on the country, Jonathan replied. See how much brighter my eyes are for having eaten this mouthful of honey. By the same token, if the people had been allowed to eat some of the booty which they had captured from the enemy today, would not the defeat of the Philistines have been all the greater? Oh, this isn't just about food. Again, so we're not really getting on what happened here. This is like mm, a like a parable somehow, or a there was something more going on, because why would Jonathan mention the booty? Right? Again, what was left behind sounds like that Saul said nobody gets anything. You're not allowed to plunder or this or that. Why not? Well, Saul's king, so the king wants it all. Or why? It doesn't say. And Jonathan, though, instead of, whoa, I did not know that, so I need to go and talk to my father and right this misunderstanding, right? Goes, meh, my dad could have done better. Look at me now. Look how well I'm doing after I've eaten something. Or look how well I'm doing with all them carts. Let's see how rich I just got from collecting everything in that Philistines camp. I don't know, but it's an odd one. So what are they actually talking about here? The people commit a ritual fault. Oh gosh. That day the Philistines were beaten from Mishmash all the way to Aijalon until the people were utterly exhausted. The people flung themselves on the booty and, taking sheep, bullocks, and calves, slaughtered them there on the ground and ate them with the blood. Oh, well, they had no problems following Jonathan. And yep, I think he's right. Forget the king's order. Saul was informed. The people are sinning against Yahweh by eating with the blood. He said, you have not kept faith. Roll me a large stone here. Saul then said, scatter among the people and say, everyone is to bring his bullock or his sheep to me here. You will slaughter them here and eat, and not sin against Yahweh by eating with the blood. Each individual brought what he happened to have that night, and they all slaughtered in the same place. Saul built an altar to Yahweh. It was the first altar he had built to Yahweh. I don't think that's true either. Remember, he made that burnt offering because Samuel hadn't gotten there yet and they were rallying against the Philistines. Okay, again, this is all a bit confusing, but all right. I don't really know what to say about it all. Seems like so there doesn't seem to be a consequence that the people did whatever anyway and didn't listen to him. On top of that, he just gave them more. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to eat this properly. Well, the Israelites been doing this for so long, don't they know? God's guidance has gone left to build. It's just a big old mess. Jonathan's guilt is discovered, but he is saved by the people. Saul said, let us go down under cover of dark and plunder the Philistines until dawn. We shall not leave one of them alive. Do whatever you think right, they replied. But the priest said, let us approach God here. Saul consulted God. Shall I go down and pursue the Philistines? Will you hand them over to Israel? But he gave him no reply that day. Oh, well, that's telling. And they're being honest in here about that? Oh, okay, right there. We just found God's word here somewhere. There isn't one, which is God's not there anymore. Saul then said, come forward, all you leaders of the people. Consider carefully where today's sin may lie. For as Yahweh lives, who gives victory to Israel, even if the sin lies with Jonathan, my son, he shall be put to death. But not one out of all the people answered. He then said to all Israel, stand on one side, and I and Jonathan my son will stand on the other. And the people replied to Saul, do as you think right. Saul then said, Yahweh, God of Israel, why did you not answer your servant today? Yahweh, God of Israel, if the fault lies with me or with my son Jonathan, give Urim. If the fault lies with your people Israel, give Thummim. Jonathan and Saul were indicated, and the people went free. Saul said, cast the lot between me and my son Jonathan, and Jonathan was indicated. I only tasted a mouthful of honey off the end of the stick which I was carrying. But I am ready to die. Okay. How do you think? Do you really think that Saul did not know that his son was the instigator of all this bloody eating stuff they're not supposed to do? Or you really think he didn't know? You really think that there wasn't someone who went and told him? So, but he's making it more interesting. And again, I said the people at that time, I guess, with some things they weren't dumb, and there's already manipulation going on. Right? Yes, of the people, with the people, and it makes it look like, miraculously God pointed the finger at Jonathan. Right? Really, that's what God does. All right, man. Oh, the finger pointing started that day. Okay. I can't help this. This just doesn't sound right to me. Saul said, "May God bring unnameable ills on me, and worse ones too, if you do not die, Jonathan." Why would you not want to rehabilitate your own son? Isn't that what God's been trying to do by sending Jesus, his son, to try to rehabilitate the people? Hmm? Still is trying. I don't understand this. But the people said to Saul, "Must Jonathan die after winning this great victory for Israel? We will never allow that. As Yahweh lives, not one hair of his head shall fall to the ground, for his deeds today have been done with the help of God." And so the people ransomed Jonathan, and he was not put to death. Saul decided not to pursue the Philistines, and the Philistines retired to their own territory. Hmm. I could say quite a bit here about all this, but here, on one hand, Saul says, "Okay, may God bring unnameable ills on me and worse ones too, if you do not die, Jonathan." And here come the people say, "No, no, no, we're not going to have that happening." Oh, the people aren't God. And then Saul says, "Oh, okay." And to show goodwill or whatever, right, he didn't pursue the Philistines. And they could go home, which is a good thing. But this is odd, really odd. Summary of Saul's reign. Saul consolidated his rule over Israel and made war on all his enemies on all fronts. On Moab, the Ammonites, Edom, the king of Sobah, and the Philistines. Whichever way he turned, he was victorious. He did great deeds of valor. He defeated the Amalekites and delivered Israel from those who used to pillage him. Now, guys, remember Samuel said, "No, God's not happy with you. You didn't do what you were supposed to do," which was what? Oh, create war left and right, up and down. And he's already has somebody else in mind. So what's Saul doing then? Still here, it's just running its course according to God's will, according to the will of the people of Israel and their king. I think that's a good question here. Right? Yes. Hmm. Saul's sons were Jonathan, Ishvi, and Malishua. The names of his two daughters were the elder Merab and the younger Michal. The name of Saul's wife was Abinoam, daughter of Ahimaaz. Ahimaaz. The name of his army commander was Abner, son of Ner, Saul's uncle. Kish, father of Saul, and Ner, father of Abner, were the sons of Abiel. There was fierce warfare with the Philistines throughout Saul's life. Any strong or valiant man who caught Saul's eye, he recruited into his service. And that is the end of 14. So now we just read here, it says that the confrontation with the Philistines was never ending during his whole reign. How long was that? It doesn't say. But the thing is that now, just beforehand, and he let the Philistines go and they went back into their territory. Are the Philistines really going to return after such a lame defeat where literally there were just a few Israelites, two, that created havoc in the camp, and then that's gave him the victory? Why would the Philistines continuously come back? Or was it the other way around? I don't know. I have no idea. That doesn't really say. But there it is. It's just more stories of war and killing and plundering and people not obeying anybody, And then sounds like Jonathan should have been punished somewhat, but the people are so happy with, right? Yes, that there's a no, 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 no. I don't know. And there it is, the king and his son. The son doesn't like. I'm not going to go with what dad says. I don't care if he's king or not, right? And who knows? Maybe Jonathan thought, well, I'll be king someday, and I don't know. Well, anyway, the next in 15 over this holy war against the Amalekites. There you go. Yep, that was right. Saul and David. As later on here. And that is that. I have no experience when it comes to war. None. Zero. The only experience that I have when it comes to that in a broader way is sitting with dying veterans, people who were soldiers in a war, in one war or another, and the impact it had left in their lives. None of them good. And the struggle to die. But otherwise, I have no experience. I've never been to a war. I've never lived in a country where there was war. Though growing up in Switzerland, um, my father, my brother, my uncles, everyone that I knew, more or less, growing up, had absolved military service. But none of them went to war anywhere. Hadn't gone to war anywhere. So it's not really an area that I can draw from, as I talked in the beginning, right? From my own experience, right? Then on the devastating effects of war, right? Yes, and why people would want to go to war, why leaders think this is a good idea, or why people would follow a leader that thinks that's a good idea. I don't know. I have no idea. Can't talk about it. Don't know. Mm. Which again brings me to when I started the video on how when we just throw around God's word, Jesus' words, at other people, right, but we have no life experience with the word of God, then we most likely won't be able to understand other people and their views and beliefs. Right? Right? Yes. And it's difficult to teach them God's ideal for mankind when we don't understand each other. Right? Yes. And on where to start to recuperate and restore. Yes. Our way of doing things. So as I mentioned, right, I only sat with dying veterans and started to understand by having the give and take with them that some needed forgiveness. Forgiveness for the guilt they felt towards taking so many lives, even though, and then also that they needed uh, how do you say, to forgive and be forgiven. They needed to be forgiven, but they also needed to forgive the horror that they were made to be a part of. Just about, though, yes, that the anger and resentment that they carried within them, that had their life be affected like that by whom? By a leader by other leaders and other people, that then it was necessary to go and fight against them, who were oppressing others or invading others. Yes, and it affects soldiers like that. That's what I got to look into, understanding that when soldiers, veterans are dying, and when their time comes after they've survived these grueling experiences, that's what I have experience with, on how to help restore that. And then from my experiences with them, then I can give that to others, right? Yes? Yeah, people believe it. I don't know. I know how this sounds to soldiers who aren't dying yet, right? Seeing some horrific things. Or if that makes some sense to them. Say, yeah, that's exactly the guilt we carry around and the anger and resentment towards the ones that made us, put us in these horrific situations. Right? Yes. Forgive and be forgiven. Ask for forgiveness if that's necessary. And forgive. Not easy to do, right? Yes. Yeah. Tell you what, every one of those veterans I got they got there, and the environment in the room changed. Everybody noticed every time, and they peacefully, within a few hours, were able to pass. Mm. Of course, they still have some restoring to do in the afterlife, but yeah, it's good when you at least have already made it one or two steps ahead. Yes? Yeah? All right. Well, anyway, that's all I have to share today. Oh, I guess I'm reading all this because one needs to talk about all the war stuff going on out there. And like my sister said, what if there was a war and nobody would show up? We have the power as common people to just say no. Okay, well, good luck with that one. I guess you guys better get the game of Risk out and start playing that, because we're not going. We're not going to do that. But of course, both armies on both sides, the common people on both sides in both countries, all the countries, all around the world would have to do that, right? Yeah, okay. Maybe someday, yeah. Oh, one can hope, right? Yes. God is greater than anything, anyone. Yeah. But He also wants us to learn on our own, right? Yes. All right. Someday we won't need our diapers changed anymore, right? Have someone feed us and this and that. Someday, right? We'll know how to do everything properly ourselves. That day hopefully will come. God's love and blessings always. May He protect you. And that